Hi, I wanted to put together a quick little video just to chat about this week, next week, and maybe a little bit into week 6. As you've probably noticed, this week's getting a little bit more. If you've been doing the readings, you can see it's a little more technical, a little more detailed, maybe a little bit more advanced, and that's sort of by design. When I built this course over the course of the last year, I had planned on and put in 2 weeks for this topic of discounted cash flow valuation, and then 1 week for relative valuation, using things like price earnings ratios, price to book ratios. Some of my colleagues thought that was too much on valuation, so we scaled it back to just 1 week for DCF. But what I decided to do was to give you 2 weeks to actually do the assignment. So that should give you a little bit more time to absorb the material and then work next week on applying it. Depending on how things go the next week or so, we may, if this was a classroom setting, I'd probably push a little bit into week 6 on the relative valuation. We'll see how that works in the online format. So what you may have noticed is that much of the material this week on discounted cash flow valuation is based on the work of Aswath Damodaran. He's a professor at NYU Stern's School of Business and is sort of the guru in my world of the chartered financial analysts on valuation. I'm actually going to hear him at a seminar next Tuesday talk about the equity risk premium, which is a part of the capital asset pricing model. And you probably noticed, if you look closely, the PowerPoints that I used this week, I unabashedly stole from him. Because he does the material so well, I thought it was just easiest. No sense in recreating the wheel. In the syllabus, I had made a recommendation, it's not a requirement, that students who are interested might want to pick up his book. This one is called Applied Corporate Finance, and it's really got a lot of the material that we have been covering over the course of these weeks. I've been tempted to recommend it as a textbook for the course. The initial thought was, it's pretty expensive for a elective, and administration wasn't real crazy about it, but I'm curious, would love to know if any of you did buy it, what you thought of it, and whether you feel it has been helpful. Just post a response to this announcement, and I'll be able to see that. Damodaran has also written a book specifically on investment valuation that is way beyond any of your needs. But the good news is, if you're interested in the topic, he wrote what is called a little book of valuation. These are all, I think it's Wiley puts these together. There's a whole series of them that are really very interesting. And in this little book, literally little book, couple hundred pages, he summarizes what is in chapter 12 of Applied Corporate Finance and the whole investment valuation book. So if this topic of valuation interests you, you might consider picking it up. As I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about it too. There is another book called The Little Book That Builds Wealth by Pat Dorsey of Morningstar. And in this, he describes a lot of the material that I've used before on moats and sustainable advantage. So a couple of interesting little pieces for you. So the way the course has been running so far, the first 3 weeks provided you some basics on capital markets, on basic theory of valuation, and then on capital structure and WACC last week. So now we should be built up to the point where we can learn some more specific valuation tools, these DCF tools, and then ultimately relative valuation. And then in week 6 to 8, 7 and 8, we'll talk about mergers, risk, and actually applying some of these tools. So to help out with this more complex material, and with that DCF assignment in particular, I'll create another video this afternoon that will walk you through the steps of what I'm looking for you to do in this DCF valuation exercise. It will rely a lot on Dama Duran's website, which you have as a resource, but it can be kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of material there, so I'll help you find what you specifically need. Further, then, I will schedule some Blue Jeans office hours over the next week and maybe try to make a more of a habit of that. So for now, my plan is to have an hour Saturday afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. We'll do another one Monday night, 6 to 7:30, and then Wednesday night from 5 to 6:30. And I can be flexible with those, so if you are really interested and you have a time that if you can't make those 3 times, let me know and I'll see if I can adjust them. If you do plan to attend one of those, send me a note and I'll make sure that I keep those times as I mentioned. So that's it. Hopefully you have been having some good time absorbing this material, and look for another video later, much more detailed in how the DCF assignment should be completed.